What's up, y'all? Shook here, back with another video on the Holy Paladin, doing some 2v2 with Plum on his DK. Here's the build that I've been running in a lot of these games, and I've been swapping Divine Favor, Hand of Divinity, just kind of deciding which one I like better. I don't really know. I'm leaning more towards Hand of Divinity. It just kind of depends on what we're fighting. I've also been swapping Bless Focused and Tyrion's Devotion, deciding which one I like more in twos, and I've been leaning more towards Tyrion's Devotion. Bless Focused just doesn't seem as worth it. I thought it was really good, but then the more testing I did, I don't know. These are the PvP talents I'm running. As always, you can swap out of Ultimate Sacrifice for Searing Glare, or Divine Vision for Denounce, or Searing Glare, depending on what you're fighting. That's about all I have to say for the build, so let's get into the games. So this first match is a Resto Druid and Windwalker. Resto Druid's currently the best healer in twos right now. They're very, very powerful. You can see Plum kind of stopped their opener of the Cyclone. Right here we have an overlap. I thought that Plum was going to hold Strangulate, so we do get the Resto Druid's Trinket, but it's not a great opener for us because we overlapped. I go ahead and give Plum the Blessing of Summer. He's going to try and kite away from the Windwalker as much as possible and not let him do all that damage. I'm going to give him Blessing of Freedom to kind of help him kite. So the key to this matchup is literally just not going We have to make it as far into dampening as possible to have a chance at getting a kill. The Resto Druid's output is going to be so high that early on in dampening, I'm just kind of trying to not waste any infusion of light procs and not go This was also the first queue we did in this session, and I was pretty rusty. We hadn't queued all week. Made a lot of mistakes. I'll try and point out, some of those throughout this match. The overlap at the beginning was kind of a big one here. So he does get the Strangulate this time off the blind. I am going to Hodge after that, and we should get a little bit of pressure here, but you can see I'm already falling way behind in mana, so at some point I'm going to have to go for a drink. Right there we get a miss on the Cyclone. I need to get up Tyr's Deliverance. I go ahead and burn Bubble. I'm not worried about him, taking me down. We have both Blessing of Protections. They don't have an offensive Dispel to take off those Blessing of Protections, so they're really, really important. That being said, I probably should have already used Lay on Hands earlier, and I think right here would have been a good time to use Blessing of Protection to bop off the Karma. I didn't think we needed it because we're at max HP and we didn't have that much pressure. So I don't know, looking back, it's like, well, it might have been worth it just because of how long the match lasted. You're kind of doing this dance where you want to make sure you're not holding cooldowns for too long, especially when you're running stuff to reduce the cooldown of Blessing of Protection, and the match is going to last longer than 4 minutes. So right here, Plum gets the double blind. He stuns him. The Windwalker doesn't stop me from drinking. I have Ultimate Sacrifice, especially versus Windwalker, because they do a lot of burst damage. So right here, you can see I almost get like a full drink off there, and I get back to like 75% mana, which is huge. Now the task is going to be to pick us back up and not fall too far behind. We're at 47% dampening. Right at around 50% dampening, things are going to start to get real. You can see 33 seconds coming for the Blessing of Summer. Plum's damage is going to be insane when he gets that Blessing of Summer buff, the second time. I'm going to go ahead and Hodge the Windwalker here because the Resto Druid was running away from him and kind of LOS'd him for a second. And right here he gets it looks like that's a tree form proc, 6 seconds. So that's a tree form proc from those 3 seeds, and we're actually almost even on mana, so I kind of fall behind. I use a Blessing of Protection there. We still have one more Blessing of Protection. Definitely should have already used my Lay on Hands by now because it's effectively useless at this point. It's 52% dampening. The Resto Druid does use Innervate there, so he's not burning any mana. War Stomp, I have Hodge available, and Plum calls out that he's going to blind. I'm kind of just trying to hold back. I don't want to get pulled in there and have us both get CC'd, because at this point, again, as long as we don't go we're going to win. We have one Blessing of Protection left. He uses Iron Bark, 54% dampening. We may have to use our second Blessing of Protection here soon. I do get a incap on me. I have Hodge available and I have Blind available. He comes to stun me. He wants to clone here, and unfortunately Plum's targeting messed up there. Again, you know, this was the first match for both of us, so kind of some mistakes that could have been prevented. I don't have Trinket. I don't have Bubble available, but so I go ahead and use my second Blessing of Protection there. It looked like it was on his Karma, so that's good. You know, we get the double dip there from the Blessing Protection and the Karma. Now Plum is going to just chase down the Druid. I want to Hodge the Windwalker here because the Druid's running away. He immediately trinkets. I tell Plum that he doesn't have Trinket, so he can double blind here. We have another blind off that, but it's just too much, and Plum does get the kill. So that was, you know, a sloppy first game, but we got the win, and like I said, we definitely could have played that one better. So the second one is against a Demon Hunter and a Resto Shaman. I actually think this comp is a lot more tough, even though the healer is, like, Resto Shaman's worse than Resto Druid, but I think just, I think Windwalker's not as good as Demon Hunter in twos. I don't know. It just depends. It depends on what you're playing with, because I've seen Windwalker Disc Priest be, like, insane in twos. So it's just really, I don't know, depends on the players. Both comps are really good. Also decided to split this video into, like, 2 videos, so it wasn't 20-something minutes long. Decided to kind of split up the Q session. So right here, they're getting a ton of opening pressure. The waterfall causes Plum to kind of LOS me there. I go ahead and sack him. He's running the banish that's the immunity banish, meaning, like, if I sack it, like, if I take damage, it doesn't break. So it can be a good and a bad thing. Like right there, it was a good thing because I sacked Plum right before the banish, so nobody's taking damage. We're basically just immune. I go ahead and Hodge the Shaman here. I do have blind off of it, but I decided to go ahead and hold it just because we didn't have a lot of pressure there. So right there, Plum does Apocalypse. He has grounding down, so again, I'm just kind of waiting. I actually use Daybreak offensively there, and we do get a little bit of pressure. So right here on the Healing Surge, I'm going to run in and blind. We get him a little bit low. His Blur is still going. We get the Strangulate. Plum is running over to Strangulate him, and he's able to actually pick him up because we're only at 40% dampening right now. I'm going to go ahead and cast Tears Deliverance and the Blessing of Winter, get a little bit of mana back. This is another one where you're really not going to win the mana battle versus a Shaman. He's trying to knock me out from behind the pillar. He summons Rocky. This elemental will keep me in combat, so I can't drink. So right there, I'm trying to kind of juke Windshear a little bit. He does lay grounding. I'm not going to Hodge into it. Grounding's down. The Demon Hunter nether walked there, so I don't really know. I don't know, that was a little bit questionable. Right here I use Blessing of Protection. I'm going to Hodge the Demon Hunter probably behind this pillar, make him, so right there we even got his Trinket. The Resto Shaman was coming to dispel him, but we got his Trinket anyway, so that's pretty good. The Resto Shaman's going to pull me back up with Totemic Projection. They just want to keep me from drinking, which is a really good strategy because you can see how far behind I am in mana. They just want to keep me in combat. Plum's going to try and double blind there, but I have to pick him up. I do get wind sheared last second into a stun. Have bubble available, so we can always save Plum. It's just kind of a little dance of, you know, we want to make sure we can drink. So the Demon Hunter knows he's coming to try and stop me. Like, that's a good goal. That blind, I don't know, a little bit questionable there because Plum did just blind a second ago. Also the bubble, I was a little high in health to be bubbling that high, but I'm just not worried about them killing me. And it looks like Plum's getting a lot of pressure on this Resto Shaman. We have the Blessing of Summer come back up, so this is kind of what I was talking about, where we're at 51% dampening. You know, we're at that 50% mark. I juke him there, and it looks like I juked the Demon Hunter too. So I got both their interrupts there. So now they have no interrupts, and the Demon Hunter's going to chase me down here. I'm going to Hodge him. He doesn't have Trinket for 43 seconds, and Plum's just going to take down the rest of Shaman. So, I don't know, kind of a little miscommunication by them. I know they were trying to stop me from drinking, but it got them a little discombobulated. But yeah, those were 2 matches from this session. I'm going to post the rest of the matches later on in the week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, it helps me out a ton. And yeah, let me know what you think. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.